Assalamu alaikum viewers, and welcome back to INX Prime. We are joined tonight by an incredible guest who is going to help us unpack an incredibly important topic. Now, as the world watches on with little to no action from so many countries, Israel continues with its genocide in Gaza, and with little or no access for foreign journalists, the world actually relies on the brave journalists in Gaza who have risked their lives to show us all what is happening in what we may call the world's largest open-air concentration camp. This evening, we are delighted to be joined by Mansour, who is actually living in Gaza, and he is coming to us live from a refugee camp. He is a Palestinian Canadian who has actually been reporting live via his channel Gaza News Live and on a lot of his social media platforms as well. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Prime Live.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. It is so important that we have your voices on our news channels and amplify your voices. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, as a journalist who is reporting live from Gaza, can you please share some of the challenges as well as the dangers that you faced while trying to bring the world to an understanding of what is actually going on the ground?
First of all, thank you for having me. We are proud of South Africa. We are proud of the people of South Africa, the government of South Africa, first of all, for its stance towards the just Palestinian cause here. And we are looking forward to the proceedings of the ICG hearing later on this week. When we talk about the humanitarian crisis here, since the first day of this conflict, the Zionist regime said that the Palestinian civilians, from the baby to the mother to the elderly, these are all animals. These are all terrorists. They do not recognize anyone here as a civilian, and they do not apply to them any of the laws that the Geneva Convention and other things that have been decreed by the so-called democracies and the UN onto the population here. It's been almost 96 days where a lot of people here are suffering from malnutrition, lack of clean water, electricity that comes and goes, connections, phone call connections, and internet connections that have got cut off at least 12 times since the start. We are talking about a lack of medication. We are talking about a lack of basic safety, security needs across all of Gaza Strip. There is no place safe here in Gaza. Hospitals have been bombed. Schools have been bombed. Churches have been bombed. Mosques have been bombed. Open areas have been bombed. Even places deemed by the Zionist propaganda that as safe zones, the next hour they bomb them. So it is definitely going towards the worst, despite the propaganda now being issued that the aids are being let in. Less than 2% of the actual need is only being met here. We have 1.8 million people displaced, over 70% of the infrastructure destroyed. I am living in a tent here for the last 90 days, together with many other families. We are all on a daily basis trying to acquire food, clean water, medication for our children, just cleaning our clothes, finding clean washrooms. But you know what? Despite all of that, the morale of the Palestinian people here is very high. They believe that they are changing history together with the rest of the free people of this world. And we believe that we are being challenged because soon we are going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the price of freedom will be there, similar to what happened to South Africa 40 years ago when they strived for their freedom and they were able to defeat the apartheid. Right now, we believe that 2024 is the end of Zionism, not only here in Palestine, but in the whole world.
Yeah, Mr. Mansour, I mean, just touching on, your channel as well. I mean, it's called Gaza News Live, and I know it does help a lot of people around the world to understand exactly what's happening in Gaza at this very moment. But also, I mean, it stops the I can say the narrative in that sense, or the agenda that's been pushed out to limit journalists so that they can actually push out their own agenda, their own narrative. I wanted to just understand journalism and journalists in Gaza right now. We've seen so many journalists being killed during this war, more than any other time in history. Are you concerned about the lack of condemnation from the world, who always call for a free press, but we don't see it happening right now?
Yeah, I think that Palestinians here realize that they can only rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, together with the support of the free people of this world. In addition to some governments who have some consciousness. Um, Journalists are targeted here. Over 113 journalists have been killed to date, many with their families, losing everything that they had. Just to give you also another perspective on things, many people who are now on social media aren't really journalists by trade. I have an engineering degree and an MBA from Canadian universities. I've been practicing consulting, manufacturing, distribution, supply chain management for many years now in the public sector, oil and gas sector. And I've only been involved in social media for the last few months since the start of this conflict, just because I can speak English and I am here in Gaza. So in order to try to amplify the voices of the Palestinian people here. So it's like a beehive, and everyone here is busy trying to do their job in order to try to help the population here. And like I said, in an interview right now with TRT World, we are at the beginning. We are only at the start, and we are looking forward to accelerate down this path. And we need the support of the people of South Africa, its government, and the rest of the free people of this world to continue the journey.
Now, Mansour, seeing you as a journalist, how do you believe the role of media, including citizen journalism as well as social media, contributes to shaping international perspectives on the situation in Gaza?
I think you've changed the game. The new generation has changed the game. These different social media platforms have changed it. There were in the past many wars in Gaza, but none were covered in the way it's being covered right now on the different social media platforms, because it didn't exist in the way that it is now. It wasn't as vastly when it came to reach as it is now. I personally never had TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or an active Facebook account or a Telegram account or a YouTube account. I never had any of those things. And I used to think that by appearing on mainstream TV channels, especially in the beginning of the war, I appeared on 80 plus different interviews, including 6 on Fox News, 25 on Al Jazeera, 30 on RT, and so on. I thought that I'm doing a good job there, but boy, I was wrong when I was told that no, you need to be on social media as well. That's where the real change is. That's where the larger audience is, right? So I think it's important to work on both sides, both the mainstream channels, because it has a particular audience, the older generation, people who are used to television, because they need to hear a certain narrative. And when you get the opportunity to appear on a channel like Fox News, for example, which targets the right-wing nationals in the US, you also need to use that opportunity to get the message across to them. And in addition to that, we shouldn't belittle any contribution to any channel, whether it's online, mainstream, on a social media platform. We should give everyone their right in order to get the right knowledge about what is happening here. So I really want to thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. And while we do have you with us this evening, I would like to take the time to actually applaud and commend you as a journalist and all the other journalists in Palestine at the moment who are providing us with much needed insight and information regarding the truth of what is actually going on in Gaza. Now, speaking of Gaza, please can you give us, or rather our viewers, some perspective on what the daily life is like and the struggles that the people really have to endure due to the Israeli bombardment?
That's a good question, and it depends on where you are. For example, if you are in the north of Gaza right now, in Gaza City or in Jabali or in Beit Lahia or Beit Hanun, you are going to be focused more on ensuring that you have good food available for yourself, your family. You have to be ensured that you have a good shelter. You have to ensure that you have clean water because these are not readily available there. These are areas that have been very heavily bombarded. These are areas that have been almost wiped from the map. Despite that, you have 600,000 civilians remaining steadfast there. Going further south to the middle area or Deir al-Balah or to Khan Yunis where I am or Rafah, resources are more readily available because we are closer to the Egyptian border from which aid is coming through, and there are no Israeli checkpoints separating us and the aid provided. So here aid is more accessible, but the population is larger. So there are a lot of different social charity initiatives with support from people all around the world to ensure that they have food on everyone's plates. There is clean water available, clothing available, tents available, medications, cash in order to also support people who need to use it on things that are not necessarily needed for everyone, hygiene care packs, and so on. A big shout out to the Palestinian women here who wake up early every day, baking their own bread, caring for the kids, bathing them, ensuring that they are well taken care of, despite being in the cold right now. Right now it's winter here in Gaza. A big shout out to the men of Gaza who wake up every day, trying to ensure that they have enough good food on their tables, that they are provided with proper clothing, that they properly not only take care of their own families, but of their neighboring tents or their neighboring families in nearby classrooms in refugee schools. This challenge has brought people closer together, and there is a sense of peace and tranquility amongst the general population, despite all the challenges that they are going through.
Yeah, Mr. Mansour, I mean, I just want to touch on, stuff that is happening in Gaza right now. We do have a very interactive show, so we do have a lot of questions coming in from social media, and we do have one question coming in from Imran right now, and he is asking, what can we do to assist in alleviating the plight of the people of Gaza? So, I mean, this is for South African citizens, global citizens. What can we actually do to assist?
It depends. It depends. But general guidelines is continue boycotting Zionist corporations, continue demonstrating on the ground, continue creating, liking, sharing, commenting on social media, continue to lobby your governments to ensure that they are doing the right thing, and continue to donate wisely to charities that you are 100% certain that are able to get the aid here to the people in Gaza. Connect with Palestinians that you know and trust and see how you can help as well. Learn more about what Zionism is, the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Learn more about Islam, because we want you to come into this cause with a solid foundation, not just based on emotions and images and videos that you see on television or on social media. We want you to come to this, you are sure that what you are doing is right, and you're going to spend time and effort in this effort that we are in right now. Finally, make the intention of joining us here in Gaza. Palestine is a land for the whole world, not only for Zionists. For hundreds of years, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together peacefully here. We had no issues. Issues only started when Zionists came into Palestine.
Now, Mr. Mansour, earlier on you literally highlighted and spoke so beautifully about the resilience that you experience and see within the people of Gaza. Now, can you just share with us, to your comfort, some stories or examples of the strength and determination displayed by the local population during these, difficult times?
I mean, my friend and neighbor, Mr. Wael al-Dahdouh, I think he's a very prime example, losing his wife, his children, his grandsons, and still within a few hours he goes back. He grabs his mic and he stands in front of the camera and he continues to tell the truth to the world about what's happening. despite all the pain and agony that he had gone through. And stories like that repeat here every day in front of us. People losing their loved ones, saying, Alhamdulillah, if this is our fate, if this is what God has given us, then we will practice patience. And this is all we are all on a journey here in order to ensure that Al-Aqsa Mosque returns back to the Muslim population at large, that Jerusalem is returned to the people who used to live there for hundreds of years, whether it be Muslims, Christians, or Jews. It doesn't only belong to Zionists. So you can talk here about the children, which you see every day, trying to smile and laugh and play, and they give you hugs and kisses, and you share with them sweets. You can talk about whenever someone suffers a loss, people from all over flocking to their tents or their classrooms or to them in person, giving their condolences and offering everything they have in order to ensure that they are supported mentally, psychologically, physically, emotionally. We can talk about examples of people losing their legs, their eyesight, their feet, their ability to walk. And they are still not only remaining steadfast, but they are leading different areas of work here in Gaza, even though they are in wheelchairs, for example. Um, uh, Honestly, there are countless numbers of stories here of resilient people, individuals, and communities. And I think that the lessons that we will all learn here, inshallah, will be reapplied to all nations around the world who will also strive for their freedom. I think that we have all been living in the matrix, and we've all been forced to take the red pill, given what has happened in Gaza, to see that actually we are not all living in the so-called democracies we thought we were living in.
I think I speak for all of us when I say that we are continually inspired by the resilience of the Palestinian people. And I think it's what drives us every single day watching you from South Africa. But on that note, we know that South Africa is going to be standing before the ICJ on the 11th of January. What is your hopes for South Africa? Do you think it is going to go in South Africa's favor?
Logically, you will say yes. I mean, look at the two sides. You have South Africa and the Irish, who have historically gone through a lot of colonialism and a lot of challenges by the so-called superpowers, versus Zionists and Epstein's lawyers. So, from a moral point of view, ethical point of view, looking at the two different sides, you should see who is right and how things should go. And looking at the documents and the evidence that South Africa provided, it should be a slam dunk case. But unfortunately, how this world works, to you and your audience, is that the way the political system is devised, it doesn't give the right to that who deserves the right. It gives the right to that who is stronger, to that who is stronger. And I think that once the world realizes, especially those that make the decisions, that the Palestinians are more steadfast and more strong than the Zionists, I think that's when they will start making decisions in our favor. We are positive. We are hopeful for that things will go as planned. However, it has to go in parallel with the continued steadfastness and strength of the Palestinians. If at any moment we are deemed weak, then I think that the ICJ will rule against the Palestinians. They both have to work in parallel.
Absolutely. We do hope that the ICJ will be on the right side of history. And you're absolutely correct in saying that the ICJ is definitely known to be more of a political court rather than a judicial court that stands on the rights of justice. So it will be interesting to see, but we do send our duas that South Africa will be successful at the ICJ.
Mr. Mansour, Jazakallah so much for joining us this evening and giving us insight as well as, sharing in the beautiful sides of what is happening in Gaza. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's so nice to see that people in Gaza are still hopeful. There's a sense of community. They are still resilient. And it's something that we need to hear that it keeps us going in terms of how we assist in terms of, being part of different initiatives. But Jazakallah so much to you and the work you do to many other journalists as well out there.
Thank you so much for your time. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
To our viewers, we were joined by Mansour, who was actually coming to us live from a refugee camp in Gaza. He gave us incredible insight into what are some of the conditions that the people in Palestine, or particularly in Gaza, are currently faced under the bombardment of Israel. But we also saw a lot of positivity. We always talk about the resilience of Palestinian people, and we've seen them bound together and come together to make the best of every situation that they are in.
No, that's very true. I mean, just looking at the ICJ and also their policies and how it actually works in terms of procedure, they do allow for one individual from the country that's actually applying to sit on the bench. So I know that South Africa actually got our ex-deputy chief justice to actually sit in for this in The Hague in Netherlands. So, I mean, I do feel quite safe that we do have the best legal minds working on this in particular.
Yes, I'm sure. And I think if anyone has seen social media over the last few days, they're calling them the A-team. If you have a look at the list of senior counsels who will be representing us at the ICJ, they are absolutely phenomenal and are very well versed in humanitarian law. So it will be incredibly amazing to see what is going to happen at the ICJ. Even if you look at the document, at the actual papers they put through, it was very, very beautifully written and very, very well thought out. I'm so proud to be South African sitting here and saying this, that we're really leading the way and leading the platform for Palestine.
Now, viewers at home, you can do your part by just making dua, hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. I mean, at this point, we just leave it to the hands of the amazing, A-team, as well as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, be the driving force to ultimately allowing that people see the truth for what it is and, be part of or be on the right side of history. On that note, let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.